Greetings, fellow earthlings, and welcome to Tales from the Hoop, a podcast dedicated to diving into the weird, wild, and wacky stories from basketball history. I am your host, Ricky Freck, and today I'm telling a story about one of the darkest days in Memphis basketball history to my brother.
Laser Dave.
I hope no one heard my wife for some reason opening the door, even though she knows I am recording a podcast. So hopefully it was important for ruining our show. Okay, so today, as I said last time out, which was 2 weeks ago, I think, right? Yeah, we should be on schedule. Sorry, Dave and I have actually been together for almost 2 weeks, and I brought my microphone, but we did not have time to record a live in-person
Oh,
podcast because we're too busy watching shitty ping pong movies and going to bad bars. No.
wow,
Uh,
ridiculous.
But today is going to be a true crime story, so a couple of trigger warnings up front, just in case you don't want to hear some of these things. Now, I don't think that any of it is too gruesome. I'm going to save you some of the more gruesome details that I could potentially share, but we will be talking a little bit about child death, abuse, and domestic abuse and murder today. So, just to get those out there in case you don't want to listen, I would
Yeah,
just skip this one.
feel free to skip.
Okay, so sometime in the also just up front, we won't really be talking a lot about basketball today either. So
Hmm.
also,
No fun.
I mean, there's a little bit up front, but not a ton of it. Okay, so sometime in the 1940s or 1950s, we don't know when this guy was born, or at least it hasn't been shared publicly. But a man named Herb Wright was born. Does that name do anything for you?
Herb Wright.
Yeah, with a
Can you
W.
can you spell right?
Wright.
Oh no, actually no. I was thinking of a different Herb Wright.
You actually know a Herb? No, are you lying?
Yeah.
He's lying, fellow, ladies and
I'm
gentlemen. For
lying,
the audio
everybody.
listeners, he's lying to you. He was described as a mountain of a man, which meant that he took to basketball rather well. So well, in fact, that he once had a tryout with the Utah Jazz and played some pro basketball in Finland. Unfortunately, he was never quite good enough to play in the NBA, but when he moved back to his home in the South, Herb decided that he was going to give back to his community by becoming one of the best basketball trainers in the Mid South. So,
Ooh,
if it's
okay.
not if it's not clear from there, I know a lot of people probably don't. I know before I moved here, I did not know what the Mid South was, but that is like
Okay.
the kind of like Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi area, right?
Do we know how tall he was? I know you said a mountain of a man, but
It was just I would guess over 6'8".
okay.
I don't
One
know
thing I've
exactly,
always
but
One thing I've always kind of struggled with when thinking about like that type of player transitioning to coaching
yeah,
is like, can you really coach 6'8"?
yeah. I
I just always think about Kevin Durant being a coach, and so much of what he's good at is just being taller than the other person. And I'm not
yeah,
saying obviously Kevin Durant has a million different skills that he's world class at,
right.
but
So you kind of cut out a little bit there. So if you could say that again, you can't teach what?
you can't teach like just stealing the rebound from the other guy because you're
Oh,
that much taller than him. You
right.
can't
Okay.
teach like I don't care if this guy's guarding me. I'm going to shoot it over him, and it's going to
Mm,
be very easy to do that. So
yeah.
I just always, again, I feel like that's why point guards are really good coaches.
I think you're right. I think that we've definitely seen. I think that if you are that tall, you're probably more of a specialty coach, right? Like Hakeem Olajuwon, very famous for every big man goes through Hakeem Olajuwon's camp, or for a time was going through his camp to like learn how to do the dream shake, right?
Yeah,
So I could see this guy. I definitely see this guy like once we know a kid is pretty good, we're gonna send him to Herb, something like that. I could see that.
I
But
got
yeah,
you.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah.
think I think to some degree you know the fundamentals, right? And then you kind of could
Yeah.
go from there. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm 6'2", so what do I know? It's very funny. We went to a Oklahoma State game recently, and they have a guy who's the same height as me on the team, and he looked like Kevin Hart out there. I was like, oh, that really puts it into perspective. He looks so tiny. Okay, so after a time, Herb and his wife, and here's where we have to have a bit of a conversation because I listened to a couple of videos about this story, and in some places they called her what you would assume her name is based on spelling, which is Deborah. In
Okay.
other places, they called her Deborah.
Okay. I was like, how else could you like interpret Deborah? But that
So
is the one way that you could interpret it.
I am going to go with Deborah. If it is
Yeah.
Deborah, I apologize to you, ma'am. I know you're still living in the city. If you ever hear this, just let it be known that I heard both of them, and I'm going to go with the one that I
Yeah.
would just say from reading it.
Yeah. I think that's a fair thing to do with someone named Deborah.
So the couple had a son whom they named Lorenzen. So do you know Lorenzen Wright?
Ooh. No.
Okay. So Lorenzen's parents divorced early on. His mom stayed in Oxford, Mississippi, where he was born, and Herb moved to Memphis, Tennessee.
Did you know that that's Oxford, Mississippi is where the dictionary is from?
I did know that. Yeah, I'd heard that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's why Mississippi has such high test scores in all of their schools. Their education
Oxford English
so
Dictionary,
high.
yes.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. Okay. Tragically, when Lorenzen was just 7 years old, Herb, who at the time was working for the Memphis Police Department, was shot in the back.
Ooh,
So the guy who had once been such a tall, imposing figure was
dang.
paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life. So the father had been shot in the back. It was all actually so I didn't put this in there, but I do remember reading this. As the story goes, he was coaching some youths at a place and he kicked them
Okay.
out for being rowdy, and then one of them came back
Mm,
and shot him in the back.
dang.
So, look, you're trying to do a good thing and bad things happen to you.
Wow.
I was gonna say that's Memphis, baby, but actually Memphis is pretty nice most of the time. Don't let the news get you down, you know.
Yeah, what does Stephen A. Smith know?
Speaking of not letting yourself get down, thankfully, Herb didn't let the injury get him down, and if anything, he became even more dedicated to training young players. And with Lorenzen growing to be nearly 7 feet tall, Herb had his perfect student. So at the time, during high school, most of high school, he was living in Oxford with his mother. But during his senior year, Lorenzen moved to live with his father full time in Memphis, starring at Booker T. Washington, where he was named a McDonald's All American in 1994. So, pretty
Okay.
big deal, right? Very good player.
Shout out Booker T. Washington.
There's a lot of those, I think. I think there's like one of those in every state, probably. A lot of Booker T.
I
Washingtons.
meant the guy, but yes.
Oh, yeah. What did he do? Did he make, is he the peanut butter guy?
The schools guy. I think
He just
he
made
has a school in every
schools?
state.
That's what he's
No,
known
he
for
was
is
like a
schools?
revolutionary, right? Like an
Oh, who's the peanut
abolitionist.
butter guy? George Washington Carver,
Oh,
I think.
okay. Well, it was the Washington that got you.
All right, so here's Lorenzen's friend who has an all-time nickname, Ruis, which if your name is Ruis, I understand why you go by a nickname, Raw Dog Williams.
Okay. Intriguing.
He said Lorenzen was, quote, like the king of the city, hometown hero stuff. Herb said his son had, quote, the Memphis howl. You get a rebound and you let out a howl, elbows out, letting everybody know that every single rebound is supposed to be mine.
Okay.
So he's a big
Let him
guy.
know.
He's a big guy, liked to rebound, scored some points here and there, but was definitely more of a like a defensive dude, which is pretty
Yeah.
common back in the day, right? You had a lot of big
Yeah, yeah.
guys that played defense. So during his senior year of high school, he also started dating a woman named Shara Robinson.
Okay.
Shara's dad, Julius, was his AAU coach, but she was also 5 years older than Lorenzen.
Okay. And there he was how old at this
He
time?
was 18, so she would have been 23 ish.
Okay. Back then, I mean, things
Back then,
yeah, it's different, I
you
think.
think so? I don't know. It's still weird to me. It's weird to me. And while this part of the story doesn't actually matter for the story, it's just here to add a bit of a flavor. She once reportedly was dating soul singer Isaac Hayes
Oh, okay.
in her early 20s.
Okay.
So I guess good for her.
Yeah. All
So
kinds of fun to be had.
so as a McDonald's All-American, Wright could have gone just about anywhere, but it was clear from the jump that he was going to go to Memphis State, which is now just known as Memphis University.
Okay. I was
The
like,
lo-
There's a Memphis State.
yeah. So the local boy was too in love with the city, It's music, it's churches, and maybe most importantly for anyone listening from Memphis, the man loved the city's barbecue.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's really truly the reason to be in Memphis, I think. I'm sorry. There are other reasons. I think that's the best reason.
We're not going to talk about it, but he actually there's we're going to talk a little bit about his entourage. He had a very large entourage at one point, but he had a
Okay.
whole guy who was like he had his personal chef was basically hired because Lorenzen loved the Memphis barbecue so much,
Wow.
and he was just like trying to keep him underweight, like not underweight, but not ballooning in weight. So it's like
Yeah.
I got to get a chef, or else I'm just gonna eat at Central or whatever rendezvous or
If I
something.
could hire a chef, it would be from the Memphis barbecue scene for sure.
Hey, I know a guy. I know a guy makes
Interesting.
really good pies.
Let's talk.
He might actually be retired now, but I used to know a guy. Okay, during his 2 years on campus, the big man put up 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks a night. So a very good player.
Yep.
He was a second team All American in 1996 and decided to skip the final 2 years of his eligibility and enter the NBA draft. The Clippers picked him seventh overall, and while
Yeah.
Wright
Oh no.
and while Wright never became an All-Star, he spent 13 years in the NBA, playing in nearly 800 games and making $55 million. He
Well,
spent pretty decent, not bad.
the second you heard Clippers, I was like, oh, that's why I've never heard of him. Damn.
He only spent like 2 years in LA because
Can
he
you
got
name before
mm,
Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were there? Can
you're
you
asking the
name
wrong guy this question.
10
But go
Clippers
ahead.
players?
Okay. Lamar Odom, Chris Kaman, Darius Miles, Quentin Richardson. How many is that? Four?
Yeah.
Those are basically the what 10 Clippers players. That is pretty tough actually.
That's I and I'm that's why I like for me I was thinking
Well,
3
so
and for you I was like I mean
so it also gets tough because like I mean, can I only count the LA players because they weren't in LA for they got in LA in like 80, 82.
the point is they've been
So like
around for
Bob
since
McAdoo.
82 and you can't
Does
name
Ernie
10.
DeGrigio count?
There's got to be
Well,
no other franchise that we can't do 10 for, you know?
Purvis Ellison, uh, I can't pronounce his first name. Abdul Nabi, the alphabet played there. I'm pretty sure. Uh,
If only they knew about carbon credits back in the day. They could have had a better
carbon credit.
team.
Oh yeah, okay, I get you. Okay, okay, come on. So he didn't actually play very much at LA. Oh, I guess I should have named Lorenzen Wright as one of the people,
Oh
but
yeah.
but then since we're talking about him, so I got up to like 8. That's not bad.
Yeah.
He spent the bulk of his career actually in Memphis and Atlanta. So he got traded to Atlanta after being with the Clippers and then joined Memphis. I think he was in Atlanta for 4 years and Memphis for
Okay.
5.
Okay.
And the Memphis stretch was really important for fans because he was essentially, as it was described in a couple of places, the local boy made good, right? Like he grew up
Yeah.
there. Well, not grew up there, but he kind of grew up there. And he was, like he was a local hero. Even people, basically what people were saying is like, sure, they had like Penny Hardaway, right? Penny Hardaway is a way better player, way more popular, but like Penny Hardaway was not, I mean, he is now. Penny Hardaway at the time was not like living in Memphis. Like he wasn't, he
Yeah.
would come to the city, but he was like filming commercials in New York, doing stuff out in LA. He was not really like living like a local boy. Whereas because Wright was not as good, he kind of was like the king
Hmm.
of the city.
Yeah.
So Wright was well known for sharing his career, excuse me, during his career for sharing the wealth with everyone around him, whether that meant giving back to fans, giving friends and family money without any strings attached, or putting together one of the largest entourages in the league. It didn't matter to him. He,
Do we have a figure of what they were up to?
the way it was described to me is that, or not to me, when I was reading, is that he never kept the receipt. He just would pay for
Hmm.
everything and would never didn't
Okay.
care. Just like doesn't matter. I'm gonna have this money forever, and as we will see soon, did not.
Okay. Yeah.
So Wright wanted to live large, and he also wanted to bring everyone with him for the ride. Unfortunately, by 2009, so he'd been, like I said, he'd been in the league for 13 years, but by '09, his playing days were pretty much over by that point. His body was failing him, and the money and fame that he had gained was also quickly heading out the door. In 2010, Wright's $1 million home in Atlanta was repossessed, as was another residence in the Memphis burbs. During his playing days, Rin and Shara, the lady I mentioned earlier, had married, but things were definitely rocky. Tragically, in 2003, they lost their 11-month-old daughter, Sierra, which led to a split. The couple eventually reconciled, but by 2010 had officially divorced. Lorenzen was then ordered to pay $26,000 per month in child support for their 6 other kids.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's a crazy number no matter what.
Yeah,
But when you said 6 kids, I was like, well, okay, it's a lot of kids. So
it is a lot of
I don't know how
kids,
the
but
system works, but
twenty-six
you
thousand
got to
dollars a
quit.
month is, I mean, that's like you do like 3 months. That's my how much money I make, like more money than I make in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't that's nuts. But it probably goes off like your highest earnings years,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Which is why I
Also,
mean
it's
that.
like, what are you supposed to do? Like, I know you can go back to court and then eventually get things overturned, but it's just like, okay, put me in jail, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I
this
don't
it
know.
ain't
I
happening.
mean,
I don't play basketball
I don't
anymore.
I don't know how that works if they're like, oh, you should have saved your money because I mean, like you just like that is a dollar amount that like nobody that isn't a professional athlete or just like a CEO is, even if you have like a really good job living in Memphis, you're
Yeah,
making like $150,000 a year, maybe
right.
200,000, I mean, I know some doctors that make like 200 plus, but ain't
Yeah.
nobody making enough to pay $26,000 a month for six
If a,
kids.
if a judge told me, "Oh, you should have been saving," I'd say, "Oh, my wife was there too when I wasn't. So what's up with that?"
What's up with that? Mm-mm-mm. So yeah, as you can guess, he quickly fell behind on that dollar amount because, of course, he was out of the
How?
NBA.
How crazy?
He was 34. He was out of the NBA. No way that he possibly could have been making that much
Golly.
money. He also might have fallen in with the wrong crowd. Now, it's not completely clear if he knew exactly who he was dealing with, but Wright sold a few vehicles in 2008 to a man named Bobby Cole, who was well connected to Memphis drug kingpin Craig Petty's. Now, if this were a normal true crime podcast, we weren't focused on the basketball side of things, we could do a whole series on Petty's because he was heavily connected to the Mexican drug cartel and is known to have organized at least 6 murders.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, I want to be clear. He definitely knew what that guy was into. He just had $26,000 every month he had to pay, and so he was like, "Well, I guess we got to go illicit means here because there's no
gotta,
way I'm getting a
yeah,
day job."
gotta sell to somebody. So that said, all we need to know for this story is that Petty's has been serving life in prison since 2013, and Cole was sentenced to 8 years in prison in 2012 for drug and money trafficking.
Okay.
Again, it's not clear, at least legally, if Wright knew about any of this, but he did sell Cole a Mercedes Benz and an Escalade in '08, which were turned over to the DEA because Cole had made those purchases with the money that he'd made trafficking drugs.
Wow. Yeesh.
Yeah. So either way, I think it's fair to say that Wright had some demons and had made more than a few bad money decisions. Still, he was beloved in the city. Everybody in Memphis loved Lorenzen Wright. And I'm not saying it would have been easy, but he definitely had an opportunity to change his life around, right? Like, people you see that all the time. There's people, when you're loved by a whole city. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you make the right moves, you can definitely like, get yourself back into like a pretty stable place.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the summer of 2010, Lorenzen Wright had just moved into a Atlanta suburb, but he had come back to Memphis to attend his sister's baby shower. Shortly
Okay.
after midnight on July 19th, 2010, a 911 dispatcher in Germantown, Tennessee, which is one of the Memphis suburbs, took a call. They heard what sounded like a gunshot, and then a man uttered a single word on the phone: "God damn." Immediately after, the dispatcher heard at least 10 more gunshots from what they thought were 2 weapons ring out. "Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?" the dispatcher asked. The line went dead, and when the dispatcher called back, there was no answer.
Just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
You said he uttered one word.
Yeah.
Is that one word? I thought it was two. Sorry. I'll see myself out.
Oh my gosh. Get out of here. This guy, everybody. Get him out of here. We're telling a really moving story, and this
I'm
guy
so
has to
sorry.
come in and be Mr. English teacher.
So sorry.
For whatever reason, and this is wild, the dispatcher did not report anything to a supervisor about the call. Didn't have someone go check on it. Nothing until 8 days later.
8 days?
8 days.
Oh my
So remember,
gosh.
this happened on July 19th. On July 22nd, Deborah's mother's intuition kicked in. She hadn't heard from Lorenzen, so she filed a persons report telling the police, quote, when y'all find him, it's not going to be good.
Oh boy.
On July 28th, 10 days after that 911 call, dogs found a body on Callus Cutoff, which is a short road between South Germantown and Hacks Cross. These days, you can find it easily by looking for the Top Golf in Memphis.
Oh, okay. They built it over a burial ground. Wow.
I wouldn't call it a burial ground, but yeah,
I
sort
wouldn't
of.
play there.
On that
There's
day,
spirits floating around. I'm just saying.
I mean, just one. I think just one spirit. Also, well, never mind. I don't want to say that. On that day, police. Jeez, that would have been really dark if I'd said that. The police found Wright's badly decomposed body. Oddly, the body still had an expensive gold necklace and watch Wright was wearing the night he was murdered. Thousands of people attended his memorial service at the FedEx Forum, but quickly grief gave way to guesswork. Just 4 days after his service, most of the city was now wondering who killed Lorenzen Wright. So, before we move on, any guesses?
Um, I don't know the exact stat, but just the other day I heard someone say that like it was more than 50%, but whenever there's a killing and they don't know
Mm-hmm.
who did it, it's the majority of the time it's the spouse.
Uh-huh. They were
So
divorced. They were
I'm
divorced.
sure, but it's the partner, the ex-partner or
Yeah,
whatever. So I'm gonna go with Deborah.
that's his mom.
Oh shoot.
Shara is his
Sherry,
ex-wife.
yep, that's yep, 100%. I don't think it's Deborah. That would be the craziest timeline though. Let's go with Shara and then as a dark horse, no. I have one more. I think it could be somebody in the entourage.
Okay.
Ooh, one more. And then I'm done. The guy that was doing the sketchy stuff with the money.
The
The
drug
the
trafficking.
cars the cars people. Oh, I bet he sold a bad car, had a transmission, and they were like,
Had
I
a
gotta take
transmission. You just said had a transmission. What does that mean?
a transmission problem.
Okay. All
Like,
right.
like this thing's it's got like a transmission.
Yeah, I won't tell you if you nailed the actual what's happening, but yeah, I will say you nailed all of the hypotheses. So let's go through
Oh,
them
okay.
all. Okay. There were several hypotheses put forward. Hypotheses.
Hypotheses. Yeah.
Uh,
C's.
many neighbors noted that Wright and another male had gone to Shara's house in Collierville, another Memphis suburb, and ignited a bonfire in the backyard fire pit, which was pretty strange because July 19th was one of the hottest days of the year.
Yep. Strange.
On top of that, Wendy Wilson, a former personal assistant to Wright, told police at the crime scene to, quote, look hard at his ex wife.
Okay. Yep, that's not great.
Taking it one step further, Wilson claimed to have voice recordings of Shara threatening Lorenzen if she found him with another woman.
Okay.
Shara Robinson has stated that Lorenzen was constantly, quote, juggling women in addition to claiming that he was abusive, adding another wrinkle to the case. Plus, she was reportedly $3 million in debt, was the last person to see him alive, and at one point claimed she'd seen him leave her house that night with a box of drugs, though she would later claim that that story she never said and was completely fabricated by the media.
Okay.
Another,
Strange.
another of the major theories that emerged was that Wright had crossed a crime syndicate, and was murdered because of it. Shara claims that 6 weeks before Wright disappeared, three men wearing trench coats had visited her house looking for the former star. Now, that would have been a pretty flimsy hypothesis if you just base it on that. But remember that Wright was found with all of his valuables still intact. So this wasn't a
Hmm.
robbery. Instead, it seems to suggest that it was a professional hit, not something an amateur would do.
Hmm. Right. Yep.
Plus, if you know your Memphis geography, the Calais cutoff is only a few miles from the airport. Could trained assassins have murdered Wright, dumped his body, and immediately hopped on a plane back to Mexico?
Hmm.
Now, of course,
Why
there
they
were a
got to
lot
be
of
from Mexico?
because that's who that's who Craig Petty's was dealing with was the Mexican drug cartel.
No. Good save.
I mean, it's just the facts. I'm not, I only report the facts here. So, one former Memphis police director seemed to think that that theory had some validity. Bobby Chapman said I think this was in 2015, maybe 2014, which kind of gives a little bit away. My personal opinion has been all along that he owed a lot of money to the wrong people and that his murder was a message. If you owe us money, you better pay us. It doesn't matter who you are or how important you are, and you need to pay us the entire amount. And I think, quite frankly, the reason we haven't gotten any substantive tips that allowed us to look at things, that allowed us to look at anything was because the people that killed Lorenzen Wright probably flew in here from who knows where, Prague, Mexico City, wherever, and called to meet him to collect the money. He didn't have all the money. They killed him, got on the plane, and left. There's somebody out there who knows everything, and if that somebody is from Memphis, then the $21,000, which was the reward being offered at the time, we would have gotten the call.
Dang. Crazy.
So now,
I,
go ahead.
I can't focus on anything other than the guy said owed money to the wrong person,
Uh,
which like is his ex-wife, but then like he also owed all this other money to wrong people.
yeah. Apparently, he owed a lot of money to a lot of wrong people. It seems like. So now, I will say that that's just one guy's opinion. Most of Lorenzen's friends agreed that he wasn't caught up in drugs or gangs, but they could have just been saying that. Who really knows? So a year on, so
If they're
we're in.
good friends, then they were just saying that for
Yeah.
sure.
So in 2011, which was a year later, they still had not found a suspect. They haven't identified anybody.
Oh my gosh.
Deborah
Hey,
held.
I mean that's just the pace they're moving over there for him, apparently. 8 days for a
Yeah, for real.
check on him.
It's
Come
pretty
on.
wild. So Deborah held a downtown vigil that day, like the remembrance day of his murder, but was reportedly pretty disappointed by the turnout. So by so many people had shown out the first time that she was disappointed she hadn't got the same turnout the first year. She kind of felt like he was being forgotten, which was kind
Mm,
of her mission was she didn't want him to be forgotten. The next year, now we're in 2012, it was found that as part of his divorce settlement with Shara, which had happened in like February of 2010, so
okay.
5 or 6 months before he was murdered, Lorenzen had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy to benefit his children.
Wow.
After
Yikes.
after 2 years, that money was down to $5.05.
Dang. From the like it was given to his kids and then
Shira says that she spent it responsibly, but accounting
okay.
showed that in addition to buying a $300,000 house, she'd purchased a $32,000 Escalade, an $11,750 trip to New York City, and $69,000 in furniture for a new home. Which, how do you $69,000 for furniture?
I was just gonna say she got a good deal on an Escalade. Those are probably like 80, 90K these days.
Yeah.
See, I don't know about all the other stuff, but some of it she was spending responsibly, just to be clear.
I mean, what furniture are you buying that's $69,000?
You know, these artists and all their decorations.
She's like
It's
buying a
all
Monet. It's an investment, everybody. It's an investment. So
A,
two
a
more.
whole house, I don't know. I mean, it's sorry, it is a lot of money, but if you didn't know what you were doing, like if you weren't like a regular shopper and you went into a
Yeah.
big furniture store with a ton of money, sometimes those people can just like smell it on you and are like, "Let me upcharge you for this, and you got to get this bed. It's the nice kind." And
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, most of my furniture is from IKEA, so maybe I'm just not the right person to ask about what
yeah,
furniture costs.
you're definitely not.
How rude.
It is a ridiculous number, but you're
This
not the
this
person to make that determination.
this $300 chair is incredible. So get out
I
of
can't
here.
believe you spent $300 on a chair. If I'm being
I sit in
honest.
this chair every day.
Yeah, but I you would have just done Facebook Market.
Me, I've never bought in a single thing. I don't even have a Facebook, first of all, and I've never been on
Oh,
Facebook Market.
congratulations! You're so cool.
I'm not being cool. I'm just saying I've never been on Facebook Market. I don't even know what you do on there.
Buy stuff.
What kind of stuff? Is that like the dark web?
It's kind of like Craigslist. Yeah, people in your
Mm,
community just post what they got, and if you're buying, you buy.
everything they got. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you know what I'm saying.
Oh boy. Okay. So 2 years later, Shara had remarried and was running a ministry. So we're in 2015 now. Was running a
Okay,
ministry called Born to Prosper. The two is spelled with the number two, just in case you're
good,
wondering.
as it should be.
This part's pretty funny. She also wrote a book, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But a
It's called
sports,
"I Didn't Kill My Husband."
but a
I
Sports Illustrated,
swear,
but a Sports Illustrated search that year reported that it had sold. How many copies do you think it had sold?
7.
Holy crap! It's exactly correct. 7 copies. Look at this
Got
guy.
him.
Which, to be fair, like I'm making fun of her, but it's more copies than my book that I haven't written has sold. But still, it's it's very low for a person that is relatively high profile in the news. Now, at the time in 2015, Herb was not doing very many interviews, his dad, but he was still at the gym teaching young men and women how to play basketball. And Deborah was quoted in the Sports Illustrated article as saying that the case was not just cold, but frozen. But she never gave up hope. She knew that the case would eventually be solved. In fact, she had essentially spent the last half decade working as an unpaid homicide detective, doing everything she could to prove that her son's name would be cleared from the accusations that he had been involved in drug trafficking.
Dang. Okay.
Now,
So she didn't even care about the murder necessarily.
no,
She
no,
was
no.
just
Of
like,
course, she wanted to solve the murder, but I'm just saying she wanted it to be known that like her son did not do anything bad. It was
okay,
someone did something bad to him.
okay.
Now, before we
Dude,
continue,
a mother's guilt is crazy. Go to the ends of the earth to make sure that no one thinks that they did a bad job parenting, you know?
yeah. So before we go any further, let's quickly talk about the book that Shara Robinson, now calling herself Shara Wright Robinson, wrote.
Okay.
It's called Mr. Tell Me Anything, which, well, let me just read the Goodreads blurb word for word, and I'm going to read it exactly as it's written. So there are going to be some typos here.
Okay.
Falling in love with the same man of her dreams over and over again was not a difficult task for Sharon Roberson.
Okay.
She
Hell
had
yeah.
she had cherished Mr. Tell Me Anything so long that her fragile heart didn't even know how not to love him. After 6 years, the couple settles into a troubled marriage. Despite the inherited challenges of parenting and relating to their obvious differences, they continue on. With the constant chaos surrounding women, new acquaintances, family, and greed, their efforts would soon appear to be ultimately in vain. Combined with the newfound lies and deception, she finds herself questioning his commitment. Her belief in true loves propels her to fight for what she had envisioned from the start. But despite her nurturing efforts, corruption and deceit took their stable places in his life. A breaking point is reached. She makes a life-altering decision. Does it work out for her good? Did all of his lies finally catch up to him? Would he or she pay the ultimate price?
So this woman wrote a novel
Uh-huh.
with her name
No, 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 no.
as the character's name,
Sharon Roberson. It's different.
and that character killed her husband
We don't know. Would they? We don't know. Would they pay the ultimate price? We don't know.
only 5 years after she killed her husband.
We don't know. We don't
If
know.
it's not her, she's nuts.
Okay. So it's 2016. We are 6 years on from
Dang,
the
yeah.
murder of Lorenzen Wright. We still don't technically have anyone charged.
Mm, yeah.
So the Memphis Police Department's gang unit found a new source of potential information and put
Okay.
together a secret task force. And I want you to guess what this task force was called. Operation what?
It's about gangs or about Lorenzen?
It's about Lorenzen. Operation.
Operation Find the Right Guy.
No, I'll give you a hint. It has to do with basketball.
Oh, they could have. Right was right there.
Operation.
Um, Operation Full Court Press.
Operation Rebound, because when you get the
Ah,
rebound, you have another chance to score.
okay.
That's literally what they said in the A&E special I
That's.
watched about this case.
I was gonna say that's some A&E type shit right there.
Okay, so they then talked to one of the prosecutors on the case who told them, quote, well, y'all need to start by looking at that lake. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lake? Ricky, you've never mentioned a lake. Well, my friends listening and Dave, I left out a very key detail on purpose so we could get to this point.
Yeah, you're a great true crime podcast host. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. In 2012, 2 years after the murder, a man named Jimmy Martin had just been sent to prison for murdering his girlfriend in an unrelated crime.
Hmm.
However, he happened to be Shara Wright Robinson's cousin and
Uh-oh.
claimed to know where the murder weapon was.
Uh-oh.
Supposedly, the gun had been ditched in a lake in Walnut, Mississippi.
Okay.
Police, of course, decided to investigate. Unfortunately, for the case, they took an inexperienced local dive unit. They also did it the day after it rained, so the water was extremely murky.
Hmm. Yeah.
As you can probably guess, they did not find the gun, and everyone there assumed that Martin was just leading them on a wild goose chase.
Yeah.
So, when Operation Rebound heard about the tip, they decided that they were going to check again. And here's the key: they were with the gang unit, so they had access to some FBI resources, which meant they could actually hire a team of pro divers.
Hmm.
Now, remember, this local crew went in there and looked all around, tried to find it,
Yep.
couldn't find anything. Within 45 minutes,
Yeah.
they found the handgun and matched the casing to the gun, or matched it to the casings found at the crime scene.
It like wasn't even underwater. It was just like washed up on the bank.
Yeah, yeah. So, if nothing else, we know that Jimmy Martin was not a liar, right? He was
Okay.
telling the truth.
Yep.
He told them where the weapon
There
was.
is a
That's where it
gun.
was.
Yeah.
So, with that, Operation Rebound went back to Martin's original statement. He claimed at the time that Shara and her landscaper and potential lover, Billy Ray Turner, had conspired to murder Lorenzen Wright and had Martin come up with Turner to clean everything up because he was experienced in killings, I guess.
Yeah, it was a cleaner.
Yeah.
Right.
So the cops now had two suspects and confirmation of the murder weapon. So what they did is a very smart decision in this case. They secured warrants to bug Billy and Shara's phones, and then they leaked to the press that they had found the weapon.
Hmm.
So they have taps on their phones, and now they're going
It's
to say,
good.
hey, we got it.
Yep.
We got a
Yep.
weapon. So the duo,
Got to smoke them out.
but despite like, we know for a fact that they slept together multiple times back in the day. They had
Yeah.
not spoken in years, right? And like this woman had been married two more times since she uh, left, or since her and Lorenzo got divorced. But for whatever reason, it
Okay.
was not to Billy Ray. They had not spoken in years. But immediately, once that story went live, they got in touch with each other.
Wow.
Shara was living.
I know you're gonna tell me they didn't do it, but I'm just like I don't know how else this ends.
Shara was living in California at that point and hopped on the first flight back to Memphis to meet up with Billy. On top of that, the police met with a woman named Claudia Turner, who was Shara's cousin. Now, when they had been talking to Jimmy Martin, he had said multiple times that there was a pregnant woman at the house when they were discussing the murder, but he didn't know who she was. He'd never met her before. He just
Okay.
knew there was a pregnant woman there. So they eventually discovered that it was this woman, Claudia, who was a college graduate. She's a school teacher. She's like in every way an upstanding citizen, which is what they needed because obviously Jimmy Martin in front of a jury, he's killed somebody, he's doing jail for time, he's doing
Yeah.
time in jail for that. Not exactly, I mean, maybe not, wouldn't call him uncredible, but going to be tougher to convince the jury that,
Yeah.
this guy's legit. So they went and talked to Claudia. Claudia confirmed she had been at the house in two separate instances and had heard Shara talking about murdering Lorenzen. And one of those times,
Okay.
Billy was there and he asked Shara, well, what do you want me to do?
Yep. Okay.
So now the police had two witnesses, one of whom could have been, would have been, as I said, one of them, which is Jimmy Martin, could have been a problem for juries because of his own criminal record. But it's also important to remember that he had told them where to find the gun. So he
Yeah,
definitely
and
had,
they definitely found it immediately.
so he had some credibility. And it's not like if he had committed it on his own, it's not like him bringing in other people would really help him that much in his other cases, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
he had immunity from this charge, but from the other one, it wasn't really going to do much as far as I
Right.
understand. So then Operation Rebound started matching Billy Ray's phone records, many of which came from right around that lake in Walnut, Mississippi. With all of the evidence in hand, the police arrested Shara and Billy. Now, I know you think that it's going to go a different way, but you're wrong. Because
Okay.
while the justice system does work slowly, Shara decided to enter a plea deal to facilitation of first degree murder in 2019, 9 years after she
That's so
murdered her ex
nuts.
husband. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Billy Ray decided to fight the charges. So his trial took a little bit longer, but in 2022, he was convicted of first degree murder, conspiracy to commit first degree murder, and attempted first degree murder, receiving a life sentence. And I always think this is weird, a life sentence plus 41 years.
Yeah, I never understand.
So just in case you come back to life, I guess, as a zombie, you still have to stay in prison for 41 more years.
That would like if you I'm it's this is silly, but if you're resurrected somehow and like you're just like, okay, I guess I'll live my life and you go like give me your birth certificate to get a driver's license and they're like, oh, actually could you step in this room over here?
Yeah. Like you put Jesus back in prison. They're like, no, 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 sorry, Jesus.
Yeah, they
You
just take
you
you
rose
straight
from
to
the dead.
jail.
No, you got to go back to jail, sir. Oh, that's good. That's a good. Make that an SNL sketch on for Easter Sunday.
The actually the Jesus thing is funny because it's like actually you have to go back in there and we're gonna roll the rock back and then we're gonna put a guard next to the rock so you can't do that again.
Gonna lock him in Magneto's prison this time.
Yeah.
So now onto the good stuff. Several, not I guess it's not maybe not good stuff, but I will say that they had 6 kids. Several of them also went on to play college basketball, including Lorenzen Jr. and twins Lamar and Shamar, and Lorenzen's half brother, which is Deborah's son. And I'm probably going to butcher this, so I apologize. I've never seen a name like this before. Tomonique
Okay.
Tomonique Marin also played college basketball. So we had some, despite all the what was assuredly a very tough upbringing, knowing all this stuff about, and then learning all this stuff about their mom. Several of them at least got out or not got out, but made it through safely. And
Yeah. Yeah.
for good measure, just to end the story, just so we know that the Robinsons have always apparently been a problem for Memphis, at least for the last couple of decades. Shira's sister, Katrina, was elected to Tennessee State Senate in 2018, but was expelled from office in 2022 after she was indicted on 48 charges of embezzlement of $600,000 in federal grants.
You know how many Escalades she could buy with that?
It's a lot of escalates. So
Yeah.
that is the story of who killed Lorenzen Wright, and it's wild that it took 12 years. I mean, first of all, it took 6 years, 7 or 6 or 7 years for the police to even like find a suspect.
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
years for the guy to even do time.
Wow.
So
That's yeah. I was not ready for all that at
it's,
all.
it's a pretty crazy story. For my main sources for this one are, as I said, A&E has a show called Killer Cases, and they did one on the murder of Lorenzen Wright. And then I also used some stuff from the Commercial Appeal, which is Memphis's local paper, and then an article in Sports Illustrated from 2015 called Lorenzen Wright's Murder Remains a Mystery in Memphis.
Anytime you quote or anytime you cite A&E, you know it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back and watch that. That's great.
It's a pretty solid 42 minutes. I will say it is very focused on, like, you watch the first half and get most of the story, and then the rest of it is just Billy Ray Turner's trial. So you just get a lot of like his bumbling detective, or not detective, prosecutor, defense attorney being like
Yeah.
really bad at his job, that I kind of left out. There's a bunch of stuff in that trial that I left out because it's just, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a lot of stuff where his attorney doesn't really understand what is being a good attorney. But to be fair, not a lot to defend, right? The only thing, so they it's actually kind of funny. Not I'll spoil it a little bit. So like really their only point of contention is like trying to make Jimmy Martin seem like an uncredible witness because he murdered a person is in prison.
Yeah.
And then they bring a lady up. The only person so Billy Ray refused to testify, which I think is smart. I think like giving the prosecutor a chance to talk to him is probably not a good idea. But then the only witness the defense brings is this woman from Billy Ray Turner's church who claims that he was at a barbecue with her on July 19th, the night Lorenzo was murdered. And the prosecutor is like, so when did he leave your house? And she's like, oh, around 10 o'clock. And she's like, and the guy's like, so can you account for where he was 13 minutes after midnight? And she's like, no, I have no idea. It's like, well, that's when the 911 call went through. So he has 2 hours.
Perfect. Yeah.
And look, Memphis is a relatively large town, but you can get pretty much anywhere in 2 hours. So
yeah, she did not understand the assignment.
I think it's more the defense attorney did not understand the excitement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've applied for appeals, and I believe neither of them have been successful. I know that Shara technically can get out after 10 of her 30 years on parole. So we'll see, in actually a couple years now. It's 2026 as of this going up. So
Yeah.
2 years from now, we'll see if she's going to get out. But pretty wild story.
Wow. Yeah. That one takes the cake.
Oh, I don't know about that. I got some other big dingers in the pipes.
Also, of the ones I've heard so far.
Oh, you think that's more crazy than
I forget everything.
Oh. Well, you remember that story about that guy who was like sailing the ocean?
Oh yeah, that one's nuts. Sorry. You have a good point.
That one is pretty crazy. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here? Any modern? I mean,
just lost. So.
Ooh, tough one.
I know, to the freaking Suns.
I might be going to a Thunder game on Friday. They're playing the Grizzlies. We'll see.
You just went to another one.
I know.
Yeah, you're basically a fan at this point.
A Thunder fan? They're third. Yeah. I said they're third on my list of rooting interests.
Oh yeah.
I like to see our father happy.
Celtics, Jason Tatum, don't need him.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, come on.
Or Kristaps,
Jaylen Brown, MVP. Wow.
I mean, I think it's still good. I said they don't need Kristaps or Drew Holiday.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown's all you need.
They got that. I don't know. Am I allowed to say? Okay, we're at the end of the podcast, so I'm going to say something potentially controversial. I apologize to what's your friend's name? Russ. Yeah, I apologize to Ross. They got that white boy magic in Peyton Pritchard. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yes.
I did think of him today watching the Colts play and seeing Riley Leonard play well.
Yeah, it was great.
So shout out to him. Shout out to Riley Leonard and to our Colts friend who is a fan, Ross. Who knows?
Ross.
Who can remember?
Oh, anyone that's polite, but not you.
I'm not polite.
I just making a joke.
How rude of you. Okay, let's go ahead and get out of here. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks, probably with another true crime episode, to be honest with you. But also, we're gonna have some weird stuff coming up because, well, it doesn't matter. We're gonna talk about the bracket season off the pod at some point because I think we're gonna have to record those pretty early. I might have some guests this time. Well, we had one last time. We might have some more guests this time. We'll see. But for now, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you with probably another true crime episode later in the month. Goodbye.
Peace.